And now, Planet Valenti Television presents Planet Valenti Television, starring Dan Valenti, with special guests Mayor Dan Bianchi, DPU Chief Bruce Collingwood, and the city solicitor. And now, here's Dan Valenti. The applause going. Yeah, that's more like it. Wow. Gotta have some form of payment here. Anyways, thanks for tuning in again tonight, those of you who have done so. And as our announcer Johnny Olson just told you, this is Planet Valenti Television coming your way again from the studios of PCTV, PVTV this time, Thursday night. And we are here for you. And we'll try to keep you entertained, amused, share some information as we do on every show, because God knows there's a lot going on this week, and a lot is happening in your city. And we're only waiting until we reach that critical mass, the tipping point, when protest starts leaving the House and speaking up a little bit and speaking out and showing up at meetings and pushing back with this orgy of spending that the city cannot afford. Quick example is, and I've been doing the Planet for 4.5 years online at planetvalenti.com. I'm trying to, we'll fudge this one. I can't remember right now a story drawing as much interest for whatever reason it has, and I think it's symbolic really more than anything, but this proposed ridiculous move of 40% of City Hall into a separate building just across from City Hall on Allen Street, the back of 100 North Street. Some of you may remember it as the first Aggie Bank building. And the mayor wants to, for no good reason that I have seen or our right honorable good friends on the city council have seen, really makes much sense. The mayor has not made the case. Yeah, it would be good to have those. Thank you, AP. The mayor has not made the case, and the council on a Tuesday evening pretty much said so. And it's about time they started to push back. We've made this point numerous times that the council is the co-governor along with the mayor. And that's how this charter is set up. That's how the new charter is set up. I'm going to head over here to the table here and just get a drink of my iced tea, let's call it. How sweet it is. I love it. I love it. I'll keep this in my hand. But, yeah, give me a little bit more sound on those monitors, if you get the sound monitors. Thank you. So we'll talk a little bit about 100 North Street. We'll talk about the veterans agent who, and this is irrespective of the job that you think Roseanne Friari has done as the Pittsfield veterans agent. She also serves in that capacity on a freelance or contract basis for a number of cities and towns. I think it is 6 of them, including Cheshire, Lanesboro, Dalton, Lenox, and a couple others. But the mayor, a week ago Friday, suspended her without pay. And if you read planetvalenti.com yesterday, lots of hits we're getting. Our numbers have spiked. I mean, they're just going through the roof. And I think that 2 has told 4, 4 has told 8, 8 has told 16. And people want to know what's going on the inside. The city personnel manager, the Sheffield Shuffler, as some have dubbed him, on planetvalenti.com. Let me move my chair over this way. Yeah, that's better. He went up to Roseanne's office on Friday, said the mayor would like to see you. And she said something very strange. I mean, think of this. A department head tells the personnel manager, I will not meet with this guy alone. Why? What's going on? What is it? She will not meet with him alone. She refused to do so, citing, as she did to D'Angelo, and as she recounted to the Planet as we interviewed Roseanne, we've done so twice now, she said that she will not go down there because of the way she has been treated in the past. Bullying, according to what she's saying, intimidation, humiliation, finger pointing, invasion of personal space. And you know, if one person makes this claim out of the blue, and again, separate that from the job you think she's done for the veterans. And she's been controversial in that position, no question. We've heard from some who, and some have come out in her favor, saying she's done a good job. We've heard from others who have said the opposite. But just separate that as the issue and ask yourself, even if an employee was deserving of some kind of disciplinary action, would you treat them in such a way? First of all, if the mayor wanted to see her, why didn't he just call up, have D'Angelo in his office, and request her presence? I think I know why. She wouldn't go. Now, for some reason, she was terrified of being alone with the mayor. That's what she said. And if it's one person making a claim like that, well, you know, who's to say? It's he said, she said. This has come up time and time again now. Craig Gaetani, who has been dubbed the water wizard on my website, has reported in a lengthy letter to the editor. And since then, he made an appearance Tuesday evening before the city council, reported the same type of behavior. Doreen Wade, the Medford, got to say that right. You don't pronounce the R's. She has an online newspaper there, was inquiring about bringing her business to Pittsfield. And again, irrespective of whether that was a good idea or not, we don't know what happened, but she left a meeting with Bianchi pretty much using the same terms that Frieri and Gaetani have used. And we have heard this. There are 3 other people right now that I'm thinking of. One is a current city employee, one is a former city employee, and one is a member of the dreaded private sector who have similar complaints. I should say that third person is a member of the dreaded private sector and holds an office in Pittsfield. I won't tell you if it's elected or appointed. Those 3 folks aren't ready to come out yet. But hang on to your wallets, folks, because I'll tell you, and who knows how all this stuff's going to break out or go, but it would seem that there may be a flurry of legal action here that will face the city, and I don't know, perhaps personally. We talked to some HR people about dismissing an employee, or rather suspending without pay. Suspending an employee without pay is basically cutting them off from their means of making a living. That's serious stuff. And the HR people that we talked to said it's considered a penultimate, that is the second before the last form of punishment. The only thing after suspension without pay, as it's typically done, is you fire the person, which we will predict will happen tomorrow at City Hall. This is supposed to be a show cause hearing. It's a termination hearing. City just doesn't want to admit it. Yeah, that just doesn't work. And as you can hear, our audience doesn't much like that either. She will be fired tomorrow, and then the fun will start in terms of whatever redress. She told us she is not going to go quietly into the night. but you suspend without pay only for a serious and egregious violation of state, federal, or local law, violation of the company's policies. You're caught drinking on the job, you're caught using drugs on the job. These are serious things, and one of them said, it's harder to find, but you know it when you see it. When you have to suspend without pay, you don't take that lightly. And discipline, I never quite knew this really, but it was fascinating talking to the HR people. It's not easy to fire someone. I've had to do it with my business. It's probably the worst thing that you will ever have to do. It's not easy to have to discipline an employee. But the HR people, and if you have some common sense, you already know this. In our small business at the Media Services Group for 28 years, we were a small company, at times as small as 2 and as large as 15. We didn't have an HR department or an HR person, but we sort of operated on a couple of premises. You treated people decently, you used common sense, you treated them with respect. We paid good wages, we expected good work in return, and pretty much gave a lot of ownership to our employees. We employed writers, and that's, I guess, different than being a veterans agent or working in a factory, but nonetheless. Yeah. Nonetheless, you use some common sense, and the way that this mayor has been dealing with people both inside and outside of government is highly problematic, to say the least. Now, to discipline an employee, it should be a progressive thing. The employee does something that is you don't like, you write them up first, and a document goes into the file. And then if the employee repeats the behavior or commits some other offense, maybe you write them up and tell them that they're going to miss a day's pay. In other words, you just don't show up and say, oh, by the way, you're suspended without pay. And what this all leads to is that Roseanne says that, let's go over here. Roseanne says that this was all done verbally. And that was the part that really got to the 2 HR people that we talked to. And I won't tell you which companies they work for. These are brand name companies. You'd know them instantly. And they are based in Berkshire County, that's all we'll say. But as verbally, one of them said, you're kidding me. There was no. That's what Roseanne Frieri is claiming. Now, I wasn't in that office when John D'Angelo went in and said, the mayor wants to see you. No, I'm not going. I don't want to be alone with this guy in a room. Okay, you're suspended without pay. Boom. So I'm wondering tomorrow when she is terminated, and there's a 99 point infinite nines chance of that happening. If for some reason it doesn't, then there will have been a development that we did not find out about in the meantime, since the story was running. But you have to document this. There has to be some record. And the other footnote is that the people we talk to, and I will say this for myself, I have not seen Roseanne Frieri's case file. I don't know what personnel has in her file, but all things being equal, the HR people say there had better be a documented, progressive record of problems with her on the job. And this is a key point. It's not how she was serving the veterans. That's an outside evaluation. That's the other point these HR people made. The inside evaluation is coming from the city of Pittsfield. They're the ones who are saying that for whatever reason, they feel that she is deserving of suspension without pay, again, an extremely serious sanction, and most likely tomorrow firing. That stuff has to be documented. And if it's not, you potentially leave yourself wide open for, yes, exactly. Sometimes the funniest stuff takes place behind the cameras there. Thank you, TK. Anyways, we will follow that closely and let you know what's going on. 100 North Street, I mean, oh, wow. It's hard to understand why this is even being proposed, and we've covered this thoroughly. As a matter of fact, both of those stories for the veterans agent and this idiotic proposed move to 100 North Street, both of those, the Planet broke. PlanetValenti.com broke both of those stories. Otherwise, they would have just been going a little fast for you there, I realize. Let me just slow down when I make my movements there. We'll give back a little bit there. What was I saying? See, now I lost my train of thought. I may get on that train and just zoom right out of here right now. But we broke those stories. And I'm just saying that as a statement of fact, not tooting my own horn. But think about it. If we did not do it, do you think that the local media, start with the Berkshire Eagle or the Boring Broadsheet, whatever you want to call it, do you think they would have done the digging and the undercover work to not only find those two stories, but to put them where they belong, front and center? No, of course not. They've been playing catch-up, and every other local media has been playing catch-up with the Planet, PlanetValenti.com, on those two stories. So I'm saying that's the role of a good press, a press that cares about its community, a reporter or writer or website or other media site that actually wants to make a public contribution. And God knows that's what we're doing. Besides the vast amount of money that we receive for doing this television show, and the vast amount, it triples, quadruples, quintuples that what we do online here at PlanetValenti.com. No, that's not our revenue center. It's not our revenue center. This show is not, and the website is not. How we make our money is how we make our money. We offer this as a public service. It's probably a hell of a lot more than many of our public servants are giving us right now. I always have trouble saying that. So the mayor wants to move 40% of the office space, currently rent-free. Let this soak in, folks. It's rent-free right now. They're in City Hall. Every office that you would need for a permit in the city of Pittsfield, you can now find under one roof at 70 Allen Street, except for the fire inspector. So wouldn't it make more sense that if you wanted them all under one roof, you bring the fire inspectors over to 70 Allen Street, rather than dispossess 40% of City Hall into a building where you, the mayor, have a private suite of offices at Larry Global Mondello, also known as Global Montello, the energy group. You have private offices there, don't you, Mr. Mayor? You pay rent there, do you? Yeah, well, maybe not you personally, but maybe your company does. You've been doing that for a long time, number of years. I was on WBRK Radio, the Dan Valenti Show, for many years, and I won't say all of those years, but certainly for many of them, your office was upstairs. So it's at least 10, 15 years you've been paying rent there. That's a first point. Second point, that second floor where WBRK just happens to be, and where I still have a lot of friends and a lot of people see what goes on in that building. The second floor, there has been a lot of space. It's been empty for quite a while. Apparently, they haven't been able to give it away. Now, all of a sudden, you drum up an RFP, that a request for proposals, that requests that the building be within 2 blocks of City Hall, that it has 9,000 contiguous feet of office space, that it has this, it has that, it has the cow jumping over the moon, it has the dish running away with the spoon. You know, that's allowed. This is Massachusetts, okay? And if you go by the RFP, you would swear that it was written up in advance to fit just that building. I'm not a landlord. I don't know. Maybe it's not the case. Maybe this is all in our heads. Maybe this is all a bad dream. I think not. The council pushed back, though, on Tuesday, and we talked to every single councilor, or communicated with all of them, except for the one. Old Churchill Cotton was apparently, either he's not plugged in or whatever. He didn't get back to us, but we talked to 10, and we wanted to know how they stood on this. And our coverage showed Barry Claremont, Councilor at Large Claremont, introduced a petition wanting to get the mayor to drag his butt into City Hall chambers on September the 2nd. That's the next council meeting, and answer a list of questions that not just Barry Claremont has, but also councilors. I think that's a hearty cheer, because the people that I've been talking to, besides elected and appointed officials, we the people, Zay Plabista, Mary Jane and Joe Kapansky, John Q. and Mary Public, the little guy, the average ordinary citizen, they are uniformly against this. Claremont said that he has never been contacted as much on any other issue in his 2.5 years on the council, and he said that he had nobody, literally, that was in favor of this proposal. Same with me on the planet. We've had a couple people try to make a flimsy case online, but the comments have run 98% to 2% against this ridiculous move. It's a move, by the way, and we're not privy to the details. We won't be. We know what we know in the RFP, but just by mere chance, and I'm sure this is another Pittsfield coincidence, the real estate agent for the building, which is owned by and repped by Scarafoni and Associates, is David Carver. Now, sources say that Mr. Carver and Mr. Bianchi are good friends. That's a red flag. I'm not saying I know for sure that there's anything funny going on, but that certainly has to be a concern. So you add up all of these things one after the other. And by the way, here's another point that you should think about, folks. And I'm talking to you right there at your fireplaces. Yeah. You know, wherever you might be watching me right now. If you're paying taxes in this town, this move is going to cost up to $500,000 if it goes for the 3 years that they want. $126,000 the first year, $117,000 the second year, $108,000 the third year. Adds up, doesn't it? And this does not include any moving expenses, any renovations that the city will have to do, if any. It will not include insurance costs. And when you make a move like this, you know, and anybody who's moved from an apartment or moved into a new home, you just know it never goes as smoothly as you think it might or will. And there are always these hidden expenses that show up. And it just does not literally, and you're hearing the cash register going, it does not add up for you, the taxpayer and the good citizens of of the city of Pittsfield who are wondering whatever the heck happened. Now we do have some film, and I want to let you know that where am I? I'm up there now. I like that. Ooh, I saw myself from the ceiling. What did they put in this? This was an out-of-body experience, but we've got some incredible footage. Now, I can't tell you how we obtained this footage, but it shows the mayor. We caught him at the exact moment that he turned from. Do we have that footage? Where he, yeah, it was an amazing kind of a chance thing. You don't plan these things, and sometimes the best circumstances and the best outcomes are serendipitous. They just fall your way. But it shows the exact moment when Dan Bianchi, that guy who served for 10 years so well on the city council, and who was elected with such hope by all of you out there in an election in 2011 that he barely won by 106 votes, just got in. And I think the city felt good based on what they had seen before. But you know, as what happened to Richard Nixon, at some point he became a politician. And politicians all of a sudden stop thinking about the people who put them in office. They start thinking about themselves. And we've got this incredible film of the transformation of the mayor. And leave my mic open while this is shown. Let's take a look at that. As you can see, the mayor is kind of pensive there. He reached for a glass of cheap scotch. I mean, that was really bad scotch. Only it wasn't cheap scotch. It was something else. It was political juice. He fought it. Sounds like a difficult bowel movement, but it wasn't. And that is when it happened. He reached, he grabbed. To no avail. Hey, I kind of like this. And it was shortly after that Spectrum Health Services won its great victory against the city of Pittsfield. And that's when the mayor stopped talking to the planet. And it certainly was no hindrance to us. As a matter of fact, it's funny. Since the mayor gave his gag order saying that no department head would be allowed to speak to a member of the media or the press, and they should name that the Valenti gag order, because it terrible. Where is America, Billy? I thought this was America. I thought we had free speech, and I thought if you became a department head, you did not lose your First Amendment rights. That's what I thought. The mayor issued an edict, a gag order. Department heads cannot speak to the press without the empty suit's permission. And by the way, give a nod there. Do we have the empty suits theme music? Do we at all? If you get that, give me a cue. Okay, yeah, let that up. Let's bring them up. Sit up straight. Moron. Keep the music going. Zoom in. Give me a tight shot. Come in a little bit. Show. You're filming the show. We get a tight shot there. Yeah, let's have Bruce Collingwood here. Welcome. He's the head of the Department of Public Utilities, and Kathy Degnan joins him. Look at this, folks. Huh? Two department heads here. Bruce Collingwood did a show with Mayor Bianchi. Oh yes. All right. Oh, thank you very much. Right here in our show, we have Bruce Collingwood, who, as we said, this is the DPU chief. He did a show right here in these studios. We had Cat's Eye Pesticide Company come in and get rid of all the cooties here. But they just did a show here the other night. If you want to bore yourself out of your mind, watch the mayor's show. Watching paint dry is much better than watching that show. As a matter of fact, compared to Mayor Bianchi's show, watching paint dry is like flying a helicopter into an open pit of boiling lava, blindfolded. That's how bad this show is. And he had Bruce Collingwood talking about what a great idea 100 North Street is. Gee, let's move there. Isn't this good? He did not have the city solicitor, but she's back in her office writing the contracts that will make all of this legal, you see. And anyways, we had them as guests today. We want to thank you for joining us here on the show. Now, do we have the Generalissimo? We do have the Generalissimo. Yeah. We wanted to show you this clip last week, and we teased you and we set it up, but it just didn't happen. We ran out of time. But we want to show you this now. And you talk about diversity and cultural differences. One of the things that the Generalissimo could not figure out was how to cross the street. He was on North Street, and he was kind of baffled by those signs. You know, the signs that show people walking across the street. And we caught him in the act of being himself. And he wanted us to portray this for you. And let's look at that right now.
You see this sign in the background. I don't understand. Someone tell me you got to walk like this when you cross the street? Is that what this means? Like, He's not doing it. Is this what it means? I don't know. This is a strange city, I tell you that right now, I tell you.
Yeah, he just couldn't figure that out. And it was, well, let's show that one again. Can you back that up? This is one of our outtakes. He saw a fire hydrant. Maybe your imagination is at work right now. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay, let's watch this. That was not an editorial comment, by the way, although it could very well service as one. And as you, thank you. As we say, sometimes the fun is all backstage. But let's see here. We had talked about 100 North Street. We've talked about the situation with the veterans agent. It was also a matter, ladies and gentlemen, who are concerned and trying to figure out at this point how you are possibly going to make ends meet. You're trying to figure that out. With all of this expense, how do you make it with the new budget? Your taxes are going up again. They're going to be compounded from the tax raise that you experienced last year, which was compounded from the raise you experienced the year before. So on, back and back and back. Every year, a tax hike. How are you going to make ends meet? I'll tell you what, it's not an abstract problem for a lot of people. They are literally counting the coins and trying to make it to the end of the month. If they break even, it's a success. I was talking with a mom who's got a daughter going into Taconic High School this year, got a son who's entering college. There's money right there. And she was telling us that in the 10 years that they've been in Pittsfield, her tax bill has gone up $1,400. Ladies and gentlemen, this, in the meantime, she's trying to make a living. She's got a job in the dreaded private sector. It's a pretty good one. But I'll tell you, she is stretched thin right now. And yet, where our right honorable good friends scored a victory for We the People when they pushed back, they unanimously supported Barry Claremont's petition to drag the empty suit into the council chambers on September the 2nd and get him, God forbid, get him to answer some questions about this crazy move. They scored a victory, I'll give them that. But they also whiffed big time, too. And they voted in the pay hikes for 27 city managers, city department heads, exempt employees. And the rationale I won't even try to recreate the excuses they made. One of them was, well, the city is 12% behind the rest of the state in what it pays its department heads and managers. We've analyzed this already when the specialist came in, and we already showed you on the planet, and I think we addressed this on the TV show, how they basically, they cook it. When you hire a consultant, and if anybody in government is honest, they will admit this. You hire a consultant to come in And it's the so-called objective third party who only has a financial interest in giving the client what they want. You hire the consultant at $85,000 a year or whatever to come in and tell you that, yeah, you need to raise your pay here. That's why you're losing all of your personnel. You're not paying them enough. Well, I don't buy that from the beginning, but I'll tell you, if that's the case, it means we've got a lot of mercenaries in City Hall, doesn't it? And I know there are a lot of good people there. There are a lot of good people there. And naturally, sure, and I don't blame them one bit for accepting a pay hike. But the ability to pay, that's one thing the consultant didn't look at. Sure, compare the city of Pittsfield to Marblehead, or to Newton, or to Belmont, or to Boston, or to Northampton. These are communities that have some discretionary income. The ability to pay more is there. And even at that doesn't mean they should. In the city of Pittsfield, that ability is no longer there, sad to say. And we've addressed finances and economics a number of times on this show, and when it happens, and this is when and not if, as long as the suits keep doing what they're doing and continue to recklessly just piss away the monies that are coming in via taxes and any other way that the city of Pittsfield gets its money, they just continue to spend it foolishly. It's heading to bankruptcy. There's no question about that. And we'll show you this tape when it happens. We'll bring it up. It'll be within 10 years. Right, TK? 10? 7 years? 5 years? I don't know. 3 years? I'll tell you what. If this mayor gets elected, it's going to happen in the next 4 years. But this mayor will not be reelected. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to break some news right here that I've been sitting on. He's not going to run. He is not going to run in 2015. I'll tell you what the game is. He says he's sort of hinting he will. He's been holding fundraisers. He's kind of acting as if he will. But the plan will be to build up the war chest so that he can influence those who do run in 2015. Not just for the corner office, but also for the council races. And I believe that that's part of the grand plan. He'll be working full-time for Global. No change there, right? He'll be out of the corner office. He'll be up at Global. 40% of City Hall will be right down below him. And he hopes to have his people elected. It will turn ugly. He'll get his people, this is the master plan now we're spilling, into council seats so he can control 6 votes there and into the corner office. That is the plan. So we're just sharing that. But in trying to defend, I'm going to go over to this one here, if I may. But in trying to, I won't say defending this pay hike, the mayor goes before the council and he says, you know, this wasn't easy to do. This was hard to do, but, you know, it wasn't politically popular, but we had to do it. Bullspit. Bullspit. It wasn't politically popular? Of course it was, Mr. Mayor. I'll tell you who loves it. Those very department heads that you have alienated at least are going to get the bone of a pay hike. It's your way of politically caving in. That's the easy, you did the easy thing. And so did 9 members of the city council. Kathy Amuso and Kevin Morandi, Ward 2 and Councilor at Large. Musso, Ward 2, Morandi, voted against this, basically saying you can't afford it. Kathy Amuso said some of these pay raises are 25 to 40%, ladies and gentlemen. Find me a person in the private sector that has just received a 40% pay hike. Besides AP. Okay, that doesn't count. He's independently wealthy anyways. He'll be in Vegas quicker than Dean Martin will, I'll tell you. Because he's a smart man. You don't know who we're talking about, but he does. And he defended it by saying, well, I know it wasn't the politically popular thing to do. Whoa, our profiles and courage. Mayor Bianchi, isn't this guy wonderful? He really stuck up for the people. Well, no, he didn't. He stuck it to you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, can you imagine if you had a candidate like this on the campaign trail in 2015 who would give you one simple message? There's one issue in the campaign, and that's the finances. Everything else stems from that. Everything. And unless and until you get candidates that are elected to office, then this madness will continue. The only shot is to get some people that are truly interested in financial reform, budget reform. Detroit's doing it after the fact. It's in bankruptcy court right now. And they're trying to decide how many pennies on the dollar will the Detroit public employees receive. They did the same thing year after year when no one was paying attention. Previous mayors and city councils in Detroit gave pay raise after pay raise, snuck in all kinds of OPEBs, other post-employment benefits. A few shows ago, we gave you a chart on the OPEB bill that's facing city taxpayers. It's pushing $400 million. Detroit refused to deal with this stuff. Now it's deciding. Those same people that got those greedy contracts year after year are going to find out by the courts determining how many pennies on the dollar do they have. Now, do we have the Cardinal dancing the Irish jig? Yeah, okay. The Generalissimo came back time and time again, and we still have more to show you, including a hilarious visit to Stockbridge. We're going to save that for the next show. He wanted to see what the other half did. What's it like in a community that actually cares about itself? He went down to Stockbridge, and we've got some good stuff here. Our next character that we will be introducing is the Cardinal. And the Cardinal is the world's most successful detective. He's been called in by this crime wave committed by the one man, Tom, and he's been called in much the same way you'd call in Sherlock Holmes and Scotland Yard when the local police can't figure it out, to solve the crime wave and to nab, ultimately, the chief culprit. Sometimes he has to do crazy things. We got some footage of the Cardinal actually having to do the Irish jig as part of an undercover assignment. Check this out. He's a pretty good dancer. Tell you what, he's a lot better than the empty suit does. And we're in the process of putting together a little feature film where the cardinal actually comes in, and through some brilliant sleuth work, he actually finds out who's behind this whole. I mean, really. And the culminating scene takes place in the library, a wood-paneled library, dark mahogany, of one of the local mansions. And there's a scene where the suspects are all sitting down on couches, and the cardinal comes in and he says, "One of you is the killer, and it is my sworn duty to identify who it is." And then he proceeds to unmask the ultimate villain behind all of these crazy things that are happening in Pittsfield. I think you might have some idea already, but proving it, that's another thing, eh? Yeah? All right, let's take a public service announcement right now, if we do have that. That is, brush up, eh? Very good.
This is Pittsfield. This is Pittsfield on Dan Bianchi. Any questions?
There are a lot of questions, as a matter of fact. And on September the 2nd, thanks to some good work by our right honorable good friends on the city council, the mayor, trapped by his own charter, as a matter of fact, but Barry Claremont was playing at a high level of the game. The new charter states that the mayor, first of all, it gives the council the authority to look into and investigate city matters. And the mayor is required to appear before the council if the council passes that resolution and in writing submits a list of questions it has on a particular issue. The city council has done that. It was some great work by Councilor Claremont, and I will give credit to each and every one of them. Do I have to name them? Because then I'll leave somebody out. Well, let's see. There's Lisa Tully in Ward 1, Kevin Morandi in Ward 2, Nick Kakamo at the Pittsfield Country Club, Chris Connell in Ward 4, Jonathan Lothrop in Ward 5, John Kroll in Ward 6, Tony Simonelli in Ward 7. At large, you have Barry Claremont, Kathy Amuso, Melissa Mazzio, and Churchill Cotton. They did something. They did something for we the people and dragged the mayor, or will be requiring the mayor to show up and at least answer some questions. And he won't answer mine. He won't answer mine. I ask good questions. I'm polite to every guest that I've ever interviewed. But you know what? I have a tendency not to take bullshit when they're dancing around a question. Yeah. I'm not going to spend the rest of my time following the interview shoveling out the studio. And when I find a politician dancing around the question, I'm not hesitant to press and to follow up. Again, in a respectful and in a professional way. And so with that, I will invite the mayor once again. I will invite any city department head to come on this show and speak directly to we the people. And the first invitation would go to the mayor, whose capital budget, by the way, is tied up in limbo just because he won't compromise and give in on a fire truck, which the city says it needs. My good friends at the fire department say they need one, and if they do, well, you don't want to mess around with public safety. We're going to wrap it up right now because I'll tell you the hour has just flown by, and we thank you for joining us. It's been fun. We hope you learned something. We hope we gave you a laugh or two, and we would invite you to check out planetvalenti.com and see what we're writing about these days. We've got a humdinger for tomorrow for the weekend edition, and we will say so long here. See you next week on PVTV. And with that, on behalf of our great crew, so long, everybody.